Hello, I am Sneha Sharon Stephen from IBDP Year 1 of batch 2021-23. Restoration of ecosystem is fundamental to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals, mainly those on climate change, poverty eradication, food security, water and biodiversity conservation. The UN Decade on Ecosystem Restoration is a global effort aimed at restoring the planet and ensuring one health for people and nature. This experience was a cast connect with mathematics applications and interpretation and mathematics analysis and approaches HL and SL for the year 2022-23 and is based on restoration of the ecosystem. The objective of this experience were to create awareness of the present global status on climate change, poverty, food security, water conservation and biodiversity conservation through mathematical concepts of univariate and bivariate analysis from the unit statistics and probability and mathematic modeling from the unit functions. Secondly, encouraging students to develop inquiry questions, make hypotheses, create arguments, and thereby developing critical thinking. Lastly, developing international mindedness among students and teachers through discussion of global issues. We now present to you our team-wise CAS experiences.
Harshita Vedavanam.
And I'm Sam.
And today we'll be talking about our CAS experience in math with the topic statistics. For this, we have taken the correlation between the CCPI, which is the Climate Change Performance Index, and the energy use. We have taken the independent variable as energy use and the dependent variable as climate change.
Our rationale behind this was that climate change is a growing issue and we wanted to assess the different factors that affect climate change. Energy consumption is one of the factors that affect it, so we want to see how it correlates with climate change. We decided to go ahead with the method of convenient sampling, and our sampling size for this data is 55.
Univariate analysis of CCPI. The mean came up to be 48.71, the Q2 value is 48.76, the Q3 value is 57.29, the minimum value is 19.75 and the maximum value is 74.42. And we have also done a box diagram for the same.
Yes, so our univariate analysis for energy use is that our mean of X is 11.588, our Q2 value was 11.55, our Q3 value was 16.35, and our minimum value was 5.25, our maximum value was 18.54, and we can also see a box diagram here which shows the data. The Pearson's correlation value was 0.472 when we rounded it off, and our R-square value was 0.223.
The PPMC was evaluated by Spearman's rank, and we have put all the rankings in order here. So we can see that there is 22.3% of variation in Y, that is due to variation in X. This tells us that there is 22.3 variation in the CCPI due to the variation in the energy use bucket. We ask for value, we understand that there is a 22.3% of variation in Y due to the variation in X. This tells us that there is a 22.3 variation in the CCPI, which is due to the energy use. So we can also see that there is a line of best fit to the scatter plot, and we can see all the data points are clustered around it, and there are also very few outliers.
Limitations that we faced were we had to choose from a different range of variables, and we had to choose one and fixate on one due to various problems.
So from our analysis, we understand that climate change is growing at a rapid pace. 22.3% is not a small number. So as social citizens of the world, it is our responsibility to make this world a sustainable one for us and our future generations. Thank you.
Hello, this is Kyle and I am Pashwa. Our topic is what is the correlation between water stress index and annual precipitation?
Water stress index, the dependent variable, is an index that shows the relation between the total water used in the country and the total water available. Annual precipitation, which is the independent variable, is the amount of rainfall a country receives in a year.
We took a sample size of 100 countries and took the data for 2017 for this study. After performing statistical calculations, we found the average water stress to be 46.46 and the average annual precipitation to be 1013.3 millimeter. Outliers were seen and variance was high, showing that there are countries with high rainfall and high water stress as well as countries with low rainfall and low water stress, such as Mauritania. We see how both the averages are high, hinting towards a weak correlation. The correlation between the two variables is indeed found to be negative but weak, with the Pearson product moment correlation coefficient being minus 0.313, showing that as the annual precipitation increases, water stress decreases.
We got the coefficient of determination to be 0.0982, which shows that the variation in water stress is only 9.82% due to a change in the annual precipitation, and the rest is due to other factors. Due to weak correlation, we did not model this data. Other factors include pollution, infrastructure, poverty, and population. Hence, we see that more rainfall does not guarantee to take care of water stress, and we must take steps to conserve water.
Thank you.
Greetings everyone, I'm Dalisha
And I'm Anush.
and we will be talking about a mathematics class experience. We were supposed to make connections between two indexes and find the correlation between the two. We were given the EPI index and we connected this to AQI.
AQI is an index that measures the air quality of different countries. It is an independent variable and thus is represented on the x-axis. EPI is the Environmental Performance Index and is a method for quantifying and ranking the environmental performance of a country. It is a dependent variable represented on the y-axis. For representing the data, we have used a systematic sampling method, as it is easy to execute and there is a low risk factor. The downside of the sampling method is that it is less random and might appear to be biased.
The reason behind choosing the sampling method is that we would not miss out on any potential outliers. The correlation between the two variables is strong and positive with a value of 0.918. This is our raw data table and we have taken data from 179 different countries. We conducted univariate and bivariate analysis. For EPI, there are no outliers, whereas for AQI, we have 3 outliers.
Our analysis is that the results chosen are reliable and there are no biases present. The coefficient of determination at 84% shows that the AQI plays an important role in determining the EPI. The correlation coefficient of the AQI and EPI is strong and positive with a value of 0.918. This shows reliability and that it can predict future trends. One limitation was the lack of data that allowed us to choose only 90 countries instead of 100.
The data and calculations have shown that the air quality of countries plays a vital role in keeping the environment clean and healthy. By viewing the world maps, we can see this significant impact that a country's AQI has on its EPI. We've taken our information from YaleEducation.com and we've also cited our references for the pictures. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good morning everyone, I'm Nandita.
And I'm Shreya, and today we are here to talk about our mathematics class experience under the topic statistics.
We have examined the data we have collected for GDP, which is Gross Domestic Product, and FDI, which is Foreign Direct Investment, to analyze if there exists a correlation between the two variables.
A foreign direct investment or FDI is essentially a purchase of an interest in a company by a company or an investor located outside of its borders.
GDP is the value of final goods and services produced within the country. It is thus a major index to determine the health of a country.
The rationale for choosing these two variables is because recent studies have concluded that FDI inflows in a country increases the GDP of the country and that industrial pollution consequently. Hence, my partner and I have decided to take these two variables.
Looking at the data, we have used the sampling method of random sampling and our sample size is 94. After conducting univariate analysis of FDI, the mean value we obtained was 17369.
And for GDP, it was 1321.
After finding the correlation, we obtained the Pearson's product movement correlation value to be 0.743
and coefficient of determination to be 0.552.
Thus, we can observe an above average positive correlation between the two variables, showing about 55.2% variation in GDP due to the variations in FDI.
Hence, from the operations that we have conducted on the data we have collected and the usage of univariate and bivariate analysis, it has brought us to a conclusion that FDI plays a rather positive role in contributing to a nation's GDP.
In countries such as India, with increase in the FDI, consequently, there has been an increase in the GDP. And as per our research, we have observed how an increase in FDI also has negative impacts on different countries' climate. Due to increased setting up of industries, there is increased consumption of resources as well. We must learn to limit the amount of FDI to an extent because it has both a positive and negative effect on the country. Thus, we must also observe the other factors which contribute to an increase in the GDP, like government spendings and exports, in order to examine how to increase these variables for the positive impact of GDP on a country.
Thank you.
Good morning, my name is Asika.
And I'm Anisha, and we're going to talk about the correlation between GFSI and World Happiness Report. So we chose World Happiness Report because it instrumental in the process of reaching a state of economic well-being and happiness, since nourishment is one of humanity's most basic necessities. And through our data collection and analyzation, we wanted to check whether being able to access food would positively affect the country's happiness report.
We did univariate analysis, and for X variable, we got mean value as 5.604, and median we got as 5.599. For mode, we got 5.929, and for Y variable, we got mean value as 61.46, median as 62.65, and mode as 79.1. And then we did we plotted box whiskers diagram, and there were no outliers for both the variables.
So we actually chose all these countries through convenience sampling. The reason we did this was because only 106 countries had enough data for both the variables. So these are 106 countries, and we concluded from our analyzation that while there are no outliers, then there's a definite discrepancy in the data, because countries like Ireland and Australia have a lot of food security, but countries like Yemen and Ethiopia don't have as much as food security as they do.
Then we did bivariate analysis, and in bivariate analysis we did PPMCC to find the coefficient of determination. So we got a PPMCC value as 0.8202, and this depicts that there's an average to high positive correlation between the GFSI and in happiness index. And from this we can conclude that there's a correlation between the food security and happiness. And we cannot establish causation. That is a limitation.
So the line of best fit when we modeled this data was y is equal to 13.92x minus 19, and the coefficient of determination we got was 0.6727. The correlation shows an average to high positive correlation between World Happiness Index and GFSI, and this is a visual representation of the data that we modeled.
Hello, I'm Sneha.
I'm Akriti.
And this is a math CAS project. The title of the project is a correlation between GNI, which is the gross national income, and MPI, which is a multidimensional poverty index. MPI is a poverty measure that reflects multiple factors such as education, healthcare, and living standards of a country. GNI is the total money earned by a nation, including foreign inflows.
We collected our data from authentic sources and sampled the raw data using systematic sampling. We selected a sample size of 107 countries. We decided to select the data alternatively to obtain an unbiased result. We applied mathematical applications like univariate and bivariate analysis to evaluate our results.
We conducted the univariate analysis for both variables and found that the mean for GNI is 3,525.57, which means with a standard deviation of 3,060.88. For MPI, the mean we calculated was 0.1383 and a standard deviation of 0.1523. From this, we can concur that the variance of both the variables is not very dispersed, and the values of MPI and GNI country-wise are in close proximity to their means. We constructed a box whisker diagram to understand the spread of the data, in which for GNI we found 2 outliers and MPI we found 1.
From a bivariate analysis, the coefficient of determination that we calculated was 0.334, which means that 33.4% variance in MPI is due to GNI. We also found the coefficient of correlation between the two variables is negative 0.5781, which means that they are moderately related. Through the mathematical process, it is clear that the income is not very dominant factor that constitutes poverty. Hence, a hypothesis of income being the most vital factor was incorrect. We also modeled a line of best fit, which is y is equal to negative 0.00029x plus 0.23973.
We can conclude that as the income increases, poverty decreases. This emphasizes the extent of income inequality in our country, where the MPI rank of India is 66 out of 109 countries. Hence, the requirement of monitoring income distribution becomes integral in a country like India with high population levels. Thank you.
Good morning, one and all. I'm Samira. And I'm Shweta. And we'll be mathematically modeling the carbon emissions of India from 1998 to 2008. Carbon dioxide emissions are gas emissions coming from the burning of fossil fuels, and they include CO2 produced during consumption of solid, liquid, and gas fuels. CO2 is a greenhouse gas which absorbs heat. Due to the increase in carbon emissions, the global temperature rises, damaging the ecosystem and depletes the stratospheric ozone. Our model is about the CO2 emissions of India, and we have taken the data from 1998 to 2018. The method we used was collection of data and creating the scatter plot using Logger Pro. We could analyze from the scatter plot that there is an increase in the CO2 emissions, which is something to be concerned of. Increase in CO2 emissions has severe effects on the planet. It leads to depletion of stratospheric ozone and causes climate change and leads to migration.
For the mathematical analysis, from the scatter plot we can see that the graph has an exponential growth and has a strong positive correlation of 0.9886, which shows that the carbon emissions are increasing as the years pass. The R-squared value is 0.97732, which shows that the graph has less variation and has high predictability. In conclusion, we can say that the carbon emissions are increasing over the years due to a change in lifestyles and development and globalization. Our goal is to reduce these carbon emissions and make our world more sustainable. Thank you.
Good morning everyone, I am Harshini
and I am Devna. We mathematically model the data for the Climate Change Performance Index, also known as the CCPI of India, for 10 years.
So what is the CCPI? Well, CCPI was developed by German Watch as a tool for increasing transparency in international climate change policy. It aims to enable transparency in international climate politics and comparability of individual countries, climate protection, efforts and progress.
Through the discipline of mathematics, we were able to determine the various factors that affect the CCPI of our country and the efficiency in environmental politics. If we take a close look at the graph, we notice that it depicts an almost stagnant linear function. Mathematics has also helped us in predicting the future of climate change policies, and this enables us to draw connections between other disciplines.
Speaking of other disciplines, we connected our topic with the IB subjects like ESS and economics. Through ESS, we were able to understand the different causes and impact climate change has had on India. And through economics, we were able to establish a relationship between climate change and food insecurity.
We believe that the CCPI index is a constant reminder for us to take care of our planet and to be mindful of the things we use on a daily basis. Thank you.
Good morning everyone, I am Rishita and this is my friend Nigel. We will be talking about the mathematically modeled water stress data.
So we took the data from the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization, and we took the data from the years 1978 to 2018, as there's a gap of 5 years in between recordings. And water stress data is collected by calculating the total fresh water withdrawn in a year and dividing that value by the total freshwater resources available in a country, while also accounting for environmental flow requirements. And with regards to modeling of the data, we model the data using a linear function, and the linear function indicated a steep upward trend with an R value of 0.95, and the R-square value was 0.91, which indicates that the modeling was fairly accurate.
So our analysis is that the graph shows a steep upward trend. Some factors contributing to this area: increase in water requirement due to industrialization and population growth, and disproportionate increase in groundwater usage as compared to tank and river water usage over time. While the population growth rate has decreased, this is not enough to reduce water stress. So our prediction will be the water stress will reach 100% in less than 50 years. However, the value has stayed at 66.49 for 6 years, indicating that levels could reduce. Also will be clear when the next reading is taken. To decrease the water stress level on groundwater resources, we must implement rainwater harvesting and groundwater recharge methods.
Good morning, I'm Neil.
And I'm Alina.
Our group was assigned the topic of EPI scores and was requested to model the EPI scores for India in hopes of finding general trends within said data. Before we start, however, we would like to give you a brief about EPI.
EPI, or Environmental Performance Index, is an outcome-oriented method that quantifies the effectiveness of state policies on the environment. In other words, it can showcase the ecological health of a country for the most part. The first report was published in 2002, showcasing that this is a new system that is still evolving.
As for when it comes to how India is performing in terms of EPI, it is unfortunately in a bad position, as India's EPI scores have been following a general predictable trend, which is similar to the decay of an exponential function. To put it in other words, this means that the policies towards climate conservation and improvement are not effective and rather causing the stagnation of India's EPI scores.
If this model is to be believed, which we think it is, then our conclusion from that is if that no changes to the laws are made and new effective laws are not introduced, then India will fall behind on the global stage in terms of environmental health. One of the reasons that could be leading to this stagnation is heavy deforestation and habitat loss even after various laws prohibiting such actions.
Let us learn from our mistakes and make sure that our EPI score does not follow the trend showcased in the model. We sincerely thank you.
Hello, I am Devna Manjunath, representing all the students of batch 2021-2023. I would like to conclude by sharing what we have learned and developed through the CAS experience. This CAS experience helped all of us to develop critical thinking, communication, and social skills. We were able to understand and create awareness on the extent to which various factors affect our ecosystem by making use of the language and concept of mathematics. The CAS experience was a great platform for us to share our ideas, work in collaboration, and make appropriate decisions. As global citizens, it is our responsibility to take care of our Mother Earth and our fellow human beings. Let us try to be balanced, caring, and reflective. Thank you.